Welcome back to the Resilient Man podcast. In today's episode, Luke opens up about chasing the dream of becoming a professional footballer and what happened when that dream fell apart. From dealing with toxic environments, being released at 19, to facing depression, isolation, and complete loss of identity. Luke's story is one of hitting rock bottom and building something stronger from it. Now, the founder of a successful coaching business, he shares highs, the lows, and the lessons he's learned about resilience, self-worth, and what it really takes to rebuild your life on your own terms. Welcome, Luke, to the Resilient Man podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, James.
It's great to have you here. Opening question, which will kind of set the scene for today's session. The journey that has led you to the person that you are today, where does that really begin?
Wow. Well, I think for me, I have to go back to what I was sort of doing for a majority of my life, which was football. To becoming a captain of a football team, I think that's probably the first moment in my life when I actually started to become what is a leader.
So how long did you play football for?
I kicked a ball as early as I could remember. Didn't actually start playing for like an amateur football team until probably ages of 5, all the way up to 22. It was as I started getting into the 16-year-old mark, I sort of started men's football, and they were nurturing me into sort of the youth team, which is a scholarship. That's when you sort of get closer towards it becoming a professional career. You're in a professional environment, you get paid, you get education.
And what was the fallout from that? Did you get a scholarship after that?
Yeah. So I'd been at Rotherham since the age of the under team. There for like two and a bit, 3 seasons. I was doing really well. I enjoyed the management. I enjoyed the lads that I was playing football with. I was really enjoying my football. And, I could see it, to be honest. And I'll never forget walking in the office, and there was 3 of us out of the team of 16 that actually got offered a scholar, and all the other guys got released.
So you were successful using the top 3. So you continued playing.
Yeah, so obviously as I went into the youth team, there was a management team, and there was awful, James. There was the managerial skills, the people skills. They just didn't suit me as a person. There was very closed off. There was very sort of, I guess, there was in the previous generation mindset, but there was crack on with it. They were never really open to sort of chat if you had an issue. Which for me, I'm quite my heart's on my sleeve sort of thing. I sort of, if I've got a problem or a question, I'll ask it. And I kept getting resistance, just from the players. It sort of started becoming a bit of Luke's somebody we can target. You're thick, and it become quite sort of let's pick on Luke. And this 3-month period, I sort of got exposed to all this sort of negativity and a bit of bullying. If I'd classify some of it as bullying. So yeah, my 3-month or my 2-year scholarship came to an end in 3 months. I decided to quit, and that was one of the hardest decisions at 16 years old to turn around and say, yeah, not my dream's over, but just I am not going to stick this out. I then moved on to Bury Football Club. So I started there, and that's where my journey sort of went on to then.
Okay, so you went to the Bury Football Club?
Yeah, so when I went to Bury Football Club, I sort of battled it out for the remainder of that year. But then, yeah, we got this new manager in, and same thing happened again. The new manager just didn't like us, shafted us. Same thing, closed-minded, didn't want to hold space for us to talk. It felt like, oh, here we go. It's happening all over again. I got released at 19. That was it. 19 years old, I knew I wasn't going to make it. There was only 2 players out of 23 of us that actually got offered a professional contract. So the numbers are small. So when I was released at 19, I knew that I had a lot more to give. I felt like I didn't get a fair shot. So I sort of was going, I'm not giving up on football. I'm not giving up on my dream. I was talking to my dad and going, look, Dad, I don't want to give up. This is not the end sort of thing. Let's freaking, get back on it sort of thing. And yeah, I just I battled it out for 2 years. I'd had a trial in Germany. I flew out there. I had a football agent. Got conned by a football agent. I lived in Madrid for 4 months and was playing Spanish football at a level. So I guess really what I was saying to you, James, I've sort of been in a lot of different environments. I gave myself the best shot. I was like, right, I'll go here, I'll go there. I'll just said yes to everything. Let's just try everything. And it started getting to the point where I started losing my confidence because I didn't feel settled. I was like just here, there, and everywhere, driving here, there, and everywhere, sort of working with my dad, engineering to earn some money to be on the road so that I could go to these trials and put fuel in the tank. And, it sort of felt quite deflating. Every time I went somewhere, I didn't know anybody, and it was just, hey, I'm Luke, I'm the trialist. I guess for somebody, it had always wanted that dream to become a footballer. It was sort of a bittersweet pill to swallow. So yeah, look, I was lost, right? I fell into that depression mode, as any sort of sporting athlete, I guess, not always would do, but I did, because I sort of like was playing the victim. Why me? What have I done wrong? I've given it my all. I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and someone's not allowing me to show who I am and what I'm truly capable of. So that's when I sort of isolated myself. I didn't go out. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't have any sort of contact with women. I sort of really pulled myself away from everything. And all I did, James, would train. I hit the gym. 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, double sessions a day. I was trying to keep up with the professional football life, twice a day training. And yeah, obviously my mum and dad were the only people that knew sort of what I was getting up to, I guess. And that's when then they saw that I was down. They saw that I wasn't myself and said, Luke, I think let's look at a career. Let's have a look at something that you can do. What do you enjoy? And they saw that I was always at the gym. So they was like, Luke, what about being a personal trainer? And then that sort of got me onto that chapter.
Wow. So yeah, I didn't realize you'd been to different countries trying to play football, and it wasn't just a case of you stopped at that first no. You went, okay, what are the other options? Went again, okay, and kept going. So I mean, that takes resilience.
Oh yeah, mate. Like, one thing I will say about sort of my footballing career is, do you know what? I don't regret anything, because I tried. I did give it sort of everything I possibly could. There are things that I probably would say I would change, but I don't regret anything.
So the football career comes to an end, and you mentioned you just fell into that isolation period, shutting everybody off or away. What would you tell yourself now if you had to go back and just give yourself a little pep talk when you was in that headspace? What advice would you give yourself?
I think just for somebody to say it's okay to feel the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
I think that would be it. That would sort of soften me straight away. Because I'm a lover, I'm a giver, I'm not a fighter, I'm not an angry child, I wouldn't want anybody to sort of come at me and say, get up, son, and go for it, kind of thing. The pep talk that would, with that soft, tough love of going, listen, Luke, everything you're feeling right now, absolutely valid. It's okay. It's a normal feeling to have as a footballer that's just been released and, is chasing a dream and it's not going the right way, but what's next? What do you want to do? That kind of talk, that would have got me going. Like, I would have been like, do you know what? Calm, collected, sort of, slowed down a little bit and sort of made that next step, I guess. And I just sort of, my dad was, I would never fault my family support. So without them, I would never be where I was, or even where I am today. I'm very, very grateful for that. But they were sort of, they didn't have that other side. Obviously, they were just, they're your family. They support you. They're like, Luke, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It'll all work itself out. You've given it a good shot. I think because I didn't sort of like have any conversations with anybody else about truly how I was feeling, I didn't have that other sort of voice. It was sort of, I was just so used to myself, what's in my head, and then my family.
So how did you then move into becoming a PT?
So I was working with my dad and they started traveling. So they went on cruise ships and basically they already said to me, like, Luke, consider personal training. And I'd not signed up for the qualification or anything. And basically they was out there, and I know people wouldn't believe this, and trust me, I didn't believe it. I'd never been on a ship in my life. Who would go to the gym when on a cruise? You'd just be thinking all-inclusive food, you'll eat yourself as much as you've spent, you'll just like eat it, right? Well, they saw a fitness trainer. The gyms looked pretty good. They just, walked around the ship. They didn't use the gym. They was like, but it looked pretty nice. And I thought, do you know what? Luke would really benefit from something like this. Just a bit of a fresh start, get him out. I mean, a bit of sun on his face, get away from sort of what he's been used to. And, my dad come back and I guess they sort of went, Luke, there's a start date here for a personal training course. I did it in person, so I'm very, very grateful I did the in-person experience, because it was exams, it was sitting down in like a classroom, it was sort of, do you know what I mean? I felt like it was, not to say that, coaching is not regulated today, but it's quite easy to sort of get in. But for me, I felt like I was going through a proper sort of course, basically. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. And the guy who was our tutor, this is again where I feel like this was sort of like the opportunities that were like staring at me. It was like, Luke, you've got to do this. The guy had been on cruise ships he were talking about. He's like, yep, my name's Justin. I've been on cruise ships for 4 years. It's great. Travel in a different place every day. Anyway, I'm just like literally jaw hitting the floor going, sign me up. I was like, I'm in. What do I do next? I didn't even hesitate. I was just like, I want to know. So I was actually sharing this with somebody today in the coffee shop, because they was asking me about my sport and what I got up to. And again, I share this quite openly because I think it's important to know that, you don't always have to be perfect at anything that you do or over-prepared. It's sometimes you just got to like go for it. And I was 4 weeks into my PT course, and this interview that came up for working on a cruise ship as a fitness trainer, it was the only one it was that one, or I have to wait another 3 months. There's me going, I can't wait 3 months. I cannot. I'm so impatient. I can't wait 3 months. So I was like, they're going to my tour. Oh man, like, what do I do? What do I do? Can you sort of like speed up this so I can have a bit of a certificate? They need to see proof of like level 2, level 3. Anyway, the guy forged my certificates. He did that for me. Because he knew how badly I wanted it. He says, Luke, you're going to smash it. You're going to be great at it. So he just put it in writing. He didn't get their official certificates. He was sort of just like, this is Luke. He's qualified. We're waiting on his certificates. Because you have to wait on them anyway. So I was like, all my days, I'm conning people, whatever. I'm scanning, But it happened. I went there, and I was the only guy at the interview. So I was like, oh gosh, I'm in the wrong place here. There was all women there, because you work in the spa again. I had no idea that I worked in the spa. But when I got out there, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm working in a spa full of women. It's sort of like, there's me just isolating from women for like a year or something. So yeah, that's where my journey started. I guess I did my PT qualification. I'd not done any personal training hours. I just did the 6-week course, qualified with flying colours, and I literally did the interview, passed the interview, went straight down to Watford in the YMCA hostel, and literally I can remember sat there within 3 weeks. A guy sat there, went, Luke, your first ship is the Nordam. You're going out to Alaska. We're going to fly out to Vancouver, get your bags ready, go tomorrow. And I was just like, wow, this is 9 months of my life. I go back home quickly. Obviously say goodbye to my mum and dad. See you in 9 months, mum and dad. 2 suitcases, and football's retired, done, dusted, can't play it anymore, got to hang it up. And there I was at, and I can remember not sleeping at all due to time zone, excitement, nerves, adrenaline, everything you could imagine as a 22-year-old, just going out there and being like, wow, I don't even know what it is. But do you know what was so exciting is that nobody knew who I was, where I came from, what my background was. It was a clean slate for me. And to be honest, even though the first 9 months I really did want to quit, so many times I was on the phone to my mum and dad every day wanting to come home. I didn't. I stuck it out, and it was the best decision I definitely had to say I've made so far.
How did you find doing those first initial sessions? So you go in, you're not yet qualified.
Oh, gosh, man. It was tough. Yeah. I just had to do a bit of research. I mean, obviously, like, because I trained for a bit, you sort of pick up general knowledge, I guess. And I think for me, it was, I'll never forget sort of walking onto the ship. I didn't have any time to sort of prepare myself. It was sort of like, right, Luke, it's embarkation day. You need to stand in front with your whiteboards and clipboards and let people know your classes that you're doing, and really like get people in the gym, sell to them. And I was like, oh my God, I was like really like nervous. And then the next day, the trainer that I was on the ship with, he was South African. He was like, Luke, look, what do you want to do? I'm very easygoing. Let me know sort of what you're comfortable doing. And I was like, oh God, I'll just stretch. So I did a stretch class, never done a stretch class in my life. So I guess I was just doing everything for the first time and just sort of, yeah, I guess sort of seeing how it went. And you know what? It surprisingly went well. Obviously the guests didn't know that I'd not done it before. They're just on their holidays, I guess. But yeah, I guess in the deep end.
How did you find that process of reinventing yourself? So you've gone from being a footballer and identifying as being a footballer, and then you're going onto a cruise ship as a PT.
Yeah, it was tough. I think the hardest thing for me again was, it was just weird not talking about football. I think it was weird not like lacing up my football boots. It was weird not going to a different place every day to trial and be around people that, you're sort of competing against or anything like that. It was very, Yeah, it was very weird. But I did find competition in different ways. I guess for me, I started like trying to transition what I was kind of mentality-wise in football and what sort of got me fired up to try and transition it into this new role. Because the greatest thing about this role that I had on a cruise ship wasn't a given. Like, you wasn't on a sort of security wage. It was sort of your own commission. So if you could just sort of sit there and, you know, fold your arms, but even though you're in like all these Caribbean islands, you're going to be working long hours and you're not going to be doing much. So it was sort of, you've kind of got to get out there and talk to people and sort of invite them into your program and what you offer and stuff. So I guess for me, it's sort of, yeah, it made me come out of my shell, I guess, and build my confidence back up to go out and talk to people. But the reinvention only really started to really, I guess, kick on. I mean, talk about it really started to work well for me was like 6 months into the contract. But that only came from working with a fitness trainer that I guess showed me what the possibilities are with working on a cruise ship. Like the guy I worked with before, well, the South African guy was great, but then this guy that I worked with for like 5 months was just, he was miserable, you know. He was just, ugh. And I thrive off energy. I thrive off good energy. This guy came on, he organised everything. South African guy, renowned for one of the best fitness trainers, best salespeople. He woke me up. And to be honest, he was literally like my dog walker. I was the dog on the lead, and he was showing me with the ropes, you know. And I didn't mind that, I guess. I was sort of like, listen, I'm open-minded here. You know what you're doing. And it fired me up. I was like, do you know what? I didn't take offense. Like, I know some people might go, oh God, I don't like it when people sort of like boss me about or whatever, but I sort of needed that at that time. I guess I needed somebody to kick me and go, listen, this is what you can do if you really, you know, put your mind to it. And it was always there. It was always there inside of me, but I think I was struggling with the change. I was struggling with the whole ship life, I guess. It's hard to explain if you've not done it. The ship life is just, it's just not a normal world, you know?
I think there's a lot more to it than that. The fact that you're away from your friends, away from your family, the isolation. I know you said you struggled a few times there and you wanted to quit. So there's that whole other element, as well as then you trying to embrace this new identity as a PT. Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot going on.
Yeah, there was, oh gosh, yeah, so much going on. And I think, again, like at the time, I didn't like that guy coming in and doing what he was doing. You know, I felt a little bit sort of belittled and just, again, bottom of the pile. But actually, you know, upon reflection, and I said this to him once I left, because he continued. I only had a couple of months left. I said, you know what, I'll see you on the leaderboard, sort of thing, because you have like a leaderboard of like the commission sales and stuff. And I can remember, he was like, yeah, whatever. And I can remember when I went on to my next contract, you know, I was above him and stuff, and it was just sort of a bit of friendly banter. You know, it was good.
So how long was you working on the cruise ships for?
2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do that, and you've come back, reinvented yourself as a PT?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so obviously the PT, I set up my business before I left on cruise ships. So I sort of like wanted to sort of get my name, get my business, trademark it, and go, right, I've got that. I'm going to leave it. I'll park it whilst I just go on cruise ships. So that's when Muscle Coach UK was created, and Results with Care was a deep passion of mine, because I guess that's something that I wanted at the time when I was struggling. You know, and I was talking about that, like, it's okay to feel this way. It's a bit of care. It's a bit of attention. So that's what I sort of wanted to build and create with Muscle Coach. But also, the reason that I created Muscle Coach was I liked the Body Coach. He was somebody I really looked up to, and I thought, the Body Coach. I was like, that's cool. And then for me, I thought, well, at that time when I was a footballer, I really, really wanted to grow muscle. I wanted to look like Cristiano Ronaldo, but I always seemed to just be this, I was a chubby kid, but I guess skinny fat. I got to that point where I was like basically overtraining, under eating. So I was like, well, I want to be a coach. I don't see myself just as a personal trainer. I see myself as a coach. And I want to build muscle. So that's where Muscle Coach came from, basically. Yeah, so after the ships, I left in May 2018. And I did have a position offered to me to work with an online coaching company called Fox Physiques, which, you know, if Danny ever listens to this, I don't know whether he ever will, but he gave us a great opportunity to work under his brand and pretty much learn online coaching. Because at this point, I'll be honest with you, James, back in 2018, it was very much that laptop lifestyle traveling. And obviously I'd been on the cruise ships and I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to just travel to Bali and Thailand and just sit with a laptop and sit with a coffee and look cool and be like, yeah, this is my life. Obviously it didn't turn out like that, but that was sort of, it was selling it to me because I'd got pretty tired of just the heavy sales on ships. I sort of peaked what I wanted to get to. And I sort of was like, right, I want to do my own business. I don't want to be sort of filling it somebody else's pocket, really, and making them lots of money. I was sort of like, I'm ready to sort of go out on my own. But then this opportunity came, and I was like, well, actually, maybe it might be good experience for me to learn under somebody who's got more experience. Because, Danny had like over 10 years experience. I'd practically only done cruise ships. So I did that. I found myself doing the online world again because I've been so social on cruise ships. Within like 3 months, I was lonely again. I was isolated. I felt bored. My mum and dad, I was living at home. I was struggling with living at home. I was really struggling. I felt, again, just like, oh, God, I want my own place. I wasn't earning enough money to even consider even rent. At that time, I was nowhere near that sort of level of income. So I was walking around and I was signed up to Anytime Fitness, of gym franchise. And I was that bored, James. I'd walk from home, which was to the gym, 5 mile walk, gym session, 5 mile walk home. That's how bored I was. That's how much time I had, because I was just like, I'd sit behind a laptop, do a few check-ins, kind of do that. But as I was walking home one day, this was probably July time, I saw this banner and I saw these girls come up and start putting this banner, and they was like, hey, they were dead bubbly. Hey, how are you? Just letting you know, there's a gym opening there. There's a gym. It's an Anytime Fitness. It's brand new. It's something. It's going to open up end of August. I was like, no way. I was like, I'm a member at Anytime. Goes home, and I said, oh, there's a gym opening. And I was like, oh yeah. Long story short, followed them on Facebook, and they was looking for a PT. And my dad just went, Luke, get there, get yourself there, get out of the house, mate. You're doing me head in. You're boring. You're just moaning all the time. Go to the gym. Be social. So August 2018, that's when Muscle Coach. So I was doing Fox Physiques, and I was also starting to build Muscle Coach as a business.
Fantastic. So you're still gaining all that knowledge still, and then going into your own business.
Yes.
So how did you find working for yourself, being your own boss?
Do you know what? I sort of said, and I don't say this from a way of like being big-headed, but when I walked through that gym door, I was like, this is going to be my baby. Like, this is going to be my gym. I'm going to run this place. I just felt so, I don't know, free to sort of know that whatever I do when I walk through these doors is my own doing. Like, it's everything that I've built, created, and I always wanted to just put a smile on people's faces. I wanted to deliver results with care, and I wanted to build a community. And you know what? I did it, and I did it really well.
So how long have you been doing that for now?
10 years, actually. I'm celebrating my 10-year anniversary this year, yeah. Mad, innit? It's crazy.
So what kind of feedback or advice would you have given yourself during that period from ending the cruise ships, ending the football career, and that time span to then going into your own business?
I mean, do you know what? I sort of didn't even have space to think, really. I know some people like to put pen to paper, sort of find out what they enjoy, do all that. I think really it's sort of, I wouldn't even really give myself any advice. I'm actually really proud of myself for what I did, because I just sort of kept going and going and going. It was like one thing on to the next. I didn't even have any sort of thinking time. When like we talk to people today and they go, I've got this dream, or I've got this sort of, like you asked me, there was none of that thing. I didn't think about anything. It was just like, yeah, I'm in. Like I said, I said, oh, I want that interview now. Went there. Then I went down to London. Then I was like, oh my God, I'm going on the cruise. I went on a cruise, 9 months, bang, gone. Then it was like, as soon as I saw them girls outside the gym, and they was like, go, da, da, da. I was like, I went home, boom, straight on Facebook looking, they went PT, boom, straight away, messaged them. Within a day, I was down at the port cabin, and I was signed up as a PT. It was just, I acted fast. And to be honest with you, it does sometimes sting us. It can sort of be a bit of a burden in ways, but it's probably one thing that, as I'm saying this out loud now, it's probably one thing that's probably a great asset to who I am as a person, really, is sort of I act fast.
And how have you've been in business working for yourself for 10 years?
Yes.
I'm sure you've had some ups and downs, but how have you found that?
Oh man, well, oh God, there's been loads of downs, right? Look, in business, it's non-linear. I think life's non-linear anyway. It's like a roller coaster ride. Everybody sort of says this, but do you know what? It's sort of, I think one thing that I find myself that I do struggle with the most is sort of really embracing the highs and actually really checking in and being proud of it and, giving myself a bit more credit. I think it's, I'm a typical guy that's passionate, driven, and wants to succeed, but wants to be happy and fulfilled at the same time. I don't just want to like have success and have all the money in the bank. It's sort of, I want to wake up in the morning with a fire in my belly and fire out of bed and be like ready to go, But, there has been moments, to be fair, like there was moments that I have not wanted to get out of bed. There's never been a moment where I wanted to completely quit, like coaching and stuff like that. Yeah, the lows are, if I was to really touch on the lows, you really have to be wary of people that you open up to and that you bring into your world and share your expertise with. You just have to be vigilant. You have to be very aware and sort of, like for me, I'd say the thing that sort of I've been, I'm more aware of it now, but only through experience, is I was too open-minded. And I gave too much early on, and they took it, rode it, and see you later, right? It's not about sort of like only giving little bits, but I guess you only learn this through experience anyway, I guess. I think you've just got to go out and learn that. You might learn it the hard way, you might learn it an easy way, I don't know. But I think for me now, being in business 10 years, if I talk about the experience that I've sort of gained, is whenever I sort of collaborate or partner or talk to somebody, I kind of have a really good idea if there's someone that I would actually spend time with or invest time with or build a partnership with. Whereas I guess when I first, like even until like a couple of years ago, I was doing really well and I'd just be like, yeah, that sounds great, let's do it, I'll invest,
So that, over that 10-year span, how do you, so it's obviously ups and downs, as you said, and what I want to know is how you're able to maintain your own well-being.
Oh gosh, well, the thing for me, right, is, and it's interesting because we're on this podcast, right? So obviously I've got my own podcast as well. I think it's just what keeps me going is conversations. I know that sounds really cliche because we're having a conversation here right now, but it's the thing that lights me up. It's the thing that just keeps me going every day. I'm not saying I want to talk all day, every minute or every day, I like my sleep, but it's just, I think for me, it's like when I'm running, I like running with somebody next to me and having a conversation, right? I wouldn't say like I'm in gym lifting weights and I want to have a conversation, like I've got to focus on weight, otherwise it'll fall on me. But what I mean is I just like being around people. I just love it. I just love energy. I love just, seeing people happy. I love seeing people do well and, and yeah, I think that's what fills my cup up. That's what sort of helps me mentally, I say, more than anything. The physical aspect is nothing will ever get in the way of my own physical well-being. Nothing. I've turned down big opportunities. Like I've had guys that sort of go, Luke, I can only do that time. And I will turn around to them and be honest, say, I can't do that. I'm training. I'm running. I had a guy sort of call me the other day saying, Luke, I want to sign this contract with you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, talk to me in 45 minutes. I'm squatting. Do you know? It will never, no one's ever, honestly, it's not even selfish. It's selfless because you can't give what you don't have. And if you can't serve yourself, you're never going to be able to serve others highly. So for me, one thing I would say to any business owner or anybody even listening to this podcast is if you really do want to be the best person to be around, the best version of you, you've got to put yourself at the forefront. You have to. It's not even a choice. It's a priority.
So for someone listening then, what would that look like for them? Is it about identifying what works well for them? I know you said talking initially and then you've got you running, but how would someone first start with that?
Like, yeah, just find your people, really, I guess. So like who do you, like, or what do you enjoy doing? It might be sat in like a room like this and gaming and talking to people online, right? It's just that could be your sort of thing. That's cool. Like, do it. Do more of it. How can you do more of it? Find more in time in your week to sort of, if that's what you love doing, do it. If it's sort of going and knitting or something, well, I guess it's like, where's your piece at? Where's sort of your tribe? Where's your people that you feel a part of something, like a belonging thing? I think for me, I thought networking was sort of a place where I would sort of build lots of connections and collaborations because I kind of went into the mindset of that. It wasn't networking. It was the worst place for me because I felt like I was getting sold to every single time I went somewhere. So I was like, right, so it's community. So podcasting has sort of allowed me to build a community. Yeah, the biggest thing that I would say to somebody because I think loneliness is the biggest thing in the world today, really. You know, I think we all battle with loneliness from time to time. I just feel we've got to be around people. I know this might sound a bit weird on the podcast, but we've got to be touching people, you know, like hugging and bro handshakes and physical touch, but not in a creepy way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the things you mentioned there was about gaming, and it just reminded me of something. So through lockdown, I've got the missus, but you still feel lonely, you still feel isolated together. But me and a couple of mates used to go on the PlayStation on the headsets, and that really helped me like keep my spirits high through that whole period. Bit of banter,
Yeah.
and that really helped. And I think those little things can often get overlooked, but the impact is actually quite large when you look at it retrospectively.
Massively, yeah. This is what I'm saying. There's no right or wrong. I think, you know, people can easily say do this, do that, or be a part of this, be a part of that. But it's sort of you've got to find space in your week where you're being around good energy, you know, and being around people that you sort of got relatability to, share a common interest, and just even if it's only an hour a week, if that's all you can find. But what you'll soon do is it's like baby steps, isn't it? You might do it an hour a week for a bit. And then you'll be like, oh, I want to do more of this. And it sort of like becomes a bit more of a habit. You might do 2 hours a week. And then it might be, I'm not saying you might do it every day all day, but you might get to a point where that's your sweet spot and it keeps you mentally and physically well.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what's the future hold for Muscle Coach?
So, good question. So, Muscle Coach will never die. I will definitely say that. But I would definitely say that obviously it was all sort of a full focus at one stage of my career. It was all like, you know, fitness, well-being coaching, personal training, all that. Obviously now it's a part of what I do. It will always be a part. So Muscle Coach is sort of, it does its thing naturally. I don't feel I have to heavily sort of push that out there anymore. People know me really, I guess, because obviously when you've been in business 10 years, people know that, oh, you're the trainer. Oh, yeah, you do fitness. Oh, you worked at that gym, blah, blah, blah. But I guess for me now, it's sort of being able to explore this podcasting world a little bit more, you know, try and take that to the next level. Again, that's conversations. It might go on to even hosting my own show. I don't know. I sort of can see myself doing that, if I'm honest. I just think I'm really good at presenting. You know, obviously you've heard, you know, you've seen us present. I love all stuff like that, public speaking, presenting, and then also, obviously, like I really want to help. What I really want to do, James, I really want to help people that are stuck, you know, in sort of the employed societal mindset, and I want to help them build the solo business. I feel like the community that I've got with, you know, the Master Your Time, I feel that it's very different and unique to what probably people would deem, I guess, if you want to call it business coaching, as. But what I've sort of done is I've created everything from scratch, but from my 10 years experience. So I've obviously already got, I guess, a book or portfolio, if you want to call it, where I've helped people sort of leave a full-time job and put them through into a business that they want to do. It's never actually about telling them what they should do and what they shouldn't do. It's just, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to help more people build the dream, you know, whether that is, whatever it is, I don't know, cooking bread, baking bread, whatever, building pizzas, you know, whatever it is that they want to do. I think I just want to tie. So it's sort of like you got the fitness, which is important. Obviously, career is important because that is the tool to live in the life. And then the community.
I really like that as well, about giving people that freedom about leaving the 9 to 5, because
Massively.
I think there's a misconception about a 9 to 5 being safe.
Because it's not safe. Oh, no. Not at this time of year as well. A lot of redundancies going on, unfortunately.
And I know from personal experience, happened to me twice. I've just gone in one day and they said, oh, we're going through redundancies there and then. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, I want to build this podcast up. I want to build my coaching and my group coaching to allow myself that freedom when that time comes. But yeah, I feel like that is a misconception generally, that, oh, I'm in a secure job. How many times have we heard that? How secure is it?
Absolutely. I love that piece that you shared there, James, because I was literally having this conversation with Abby tonight. You know, I've had a few sort of messages from people. I have already clients, you know, and they're at threat of, you know, being made redundant potentially. They don't know, and they're sort of like, Luke, I don't know whether I can continue this process or not. I'm like, listen, because normally I've sort of have like a policy in place, right? So obviously for me to know that, you know, I'm a business owner, you know, I've got things to pay for and stuff like that. It gives me like an upfront notice, I guess. But you know, in that situation, I will work with the person. I fully understand it's not a nice place to be in, and I'm happy, if they turn around 7 days before and go, look, I've not got no good news to tell you, Luke, really. I have been unfortunately let go. I just can't continue. I'm going to be like, yeah, absolutely fine, It's the world, it's not always nice, but, I think for me, I want to, a little bit like we said, I want to help people achieve freedom, but I want to do it in a way that lights them up as well. I think it's enjoyment. Biggest thing for me is enjoy it.
Yeah, we're not here forever, right? Might as
No.
well enjoy it.
Oh God, yeah, enjoy it, definitely.
So to round out the podcast, then, Luke, I'd like to know what mental resilience means to you.
Well, mental resilience. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of that over my time, I guess, in terms of testing and challenging myself. But to me, I guess it means, you know what? Sometimes when you're like out in a place of unknown and your back's against the wall and you've got nobody who you can rely on, there's only one person that can actually push through that, and that is you. And I think, do you know when you can actually get through that place and there's only you that can actually do it, and then you do it because you've sort of like gone into that dark place of, like for me, for example, in ultra running, I've hit that brick wall, like you name it. I've been like putting stuff in what they call the cookie jar, where I'm going, and I'm in the middle of this like mountain somewhere, and I'm going, I've got another 25k to do here, and it's like, I can't turn around. I'm stuck. Yeah, I could call up and say, hey, listen, I'm done. I know that. But I don't want to do that because I want to get through it. And then you actually get through it. You break it down and you can do it. So mental resilience to me is being able to rely on you.
Wow, I love that. Powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that just come to me, mate. So great question. Thank you for asking that.
No problem. I think that's it for today, Luke. Thank you very much for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you, James, and thanks for the opportunity. I wish you all the best with your podcast. I know it'll do great.